What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video, and we've got a couple different things to discuss because there is some news that went a little bit under the radar when it comes down to it, and I wanted to talk about this whole no Nintendo Directs for quite some time. Nothing planned. Are they gone forever? Because yes, that has started to creep up into various different videos and stuff like that. So let's first start off with this whole EA situation. Now, shout outs to Doc Trey. He actually talked about this a while back, and I wanted to discuss it a little bit further because I made a video a couple weeks ago or so, or whenever the news came out that EA would be supporting the Switch with multiple titles. It just seemed like it was like out of nowhere, right? Like, whoa, what happened here? And I'm still not 100% convinced that it's going to be super good or quality support with all of their best titles. Now, some people feel that way, others don't. I'm kind of like wishy-washy on it. Now, I will go over some games I think that EA is going to bring over, but I wanted to get a little bit more into detail in terms of what Doc Trey had to say and why this support is even happening in the first place, considering that EA has pretty much ignored the Switch for the past 3 years or so with not that many titles, indie titles, or really bad versions of FIFA. So let's talk about what Doc Trey uncovered in his video. So his theory is that the reason why that the Nintendo Switch is all of a sudden now getting or is going to get multiple EA titles, and now they are going to be bringing support, and their thoughts on the Switch have changed, maybe at this point, is because of Doug Bowser. Now, for those who don't know, before Doug Bowser worked at Nintendo, he actually worked at EA, which I had no idea about. And as I was scrolling through the comments and looking at other people's videos, nobody really mentioned that at all. So the fact that Doc Trey mentioned that, I think that could be a big reason why that EA has decided to now support the Nintendo Switch. Maybe because Doug Bowser went over to EA or conference called EA at this point with the quarantine and said, hey, look, man, we got the Nintendo Switch. It's doing this, this, and this. Call in a couple favors because he used to work there and he left the company with good standing, or they do respect him. And this has happened before, right? When there's a certain person that's in charge of a company and maybe there's another person that doesn't like that person, or they just don't really do business that mesh well together. One of those people leaves, somebody else new comes in, and maybe they had a previous tie with that person at these high-ranking companies, and they make up, and they're like, all right, well, let's let bygones be bygones, or let's just move on, or hey, you know, like, maybe you should do this for me because we can make this amount of money, or whatever the case is. It happens all the time, whether it's the video game industry or other businesses, and this could be that situation. This could be that time where Doug Bowser said, hey, man, I'm running things a bit differently. This is our plan. This is what we can lay out. We need a few different games from you guys in order to get this thing moving. Now, here's what I do think. Let's just go ahead and let's make sure that we come back down to reality in terms of the situation. EA does not consider the Switch a major platform or anything like that. They are focused, in my opinion, on making sure that they have games ready for next generation. I think that they're really preparing a lot of their games for the PlayStation 5 and the next Xbox. That's what they're looking at. That's always going to be their bread and butter. That's going to be where their microtransactions lie, their FIFA and their Madden and all the stuff that they do there. However, I do think that the Nintendo Switch can be some nice auxiliary income for them because they've literally been missing out on millions upon millions of dollars. Now, another thing that Doc Trey uncovered a while ago too in videos is that he showed that EA could have potentially been working on the Frostbite engine for the Nintendo Switch. So if that is the case, we should start seeing some of the games that are on the Frostbite engine finally come over to the Nintendo Switch. So maybe we get a competent version of FIFA. Maybe we see some of the other games, pretty much all of EA's main games, use Frostbite with the exception of a few different games. Unreal Engine 4 is what's being used for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So maybe, just maybe, that game can come over because Unreal Engine 4 actually works well on the Nintendo Switch, and we did get that support. Of course, Unreal Engine 5 will be coming next year. So I do think that it's possible that we see some of those games, but let me go over a number of games that I think are more likely based on just the factor of when those games came out and maybe what EA thinks is good for the Switch audience. So Apex Legends. I think that Apex Legends is one of the games that have also been rumored for the Switch anyway. And also Apex Legends is a game that you can just download for free, right? You have a huge install base like the Switch. You don't have to worry about people actually going out there and buying the game outright for 50 bucks or 60 bucks or whatever the cases are, even 10 or 20 bucks. All they got to do is download it, and if they like it, all the tests and the results and the proof in the pudding shows that people will buy the microtransactions from free-to-play games if they do enjoy the content enough. We've seen this with Fortnite. They make so much money and they don't charge for the base game, right? And they make literally billions of dollars off of Fortnite. And Apex Legends definitely makes quite a bit too. They just built a new Vancouver studio just for Apex Legends. So that could be adding in the extra support for the Nintendo Switch and support for the other systems like the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. I also think that Plants vs. Zombies is also something that could come over just because it's that quirky type of style, and I think that it would fit well on the Switch system. I think that that type of game with the multiplayer and kind of what you can do with maybe even HD Rumble, local multiplayer online, I think it'd be a pretty cool fit for it. I mean, people have kind of forgot about that game. I don't know how the online is and if people are still playing, but there is a single player campaign in there, and it is a nice little quirky game, like I said, that would fit the audience, and I think that people would enjoy it on the Nintendo Switch. Now, another game that I think I can see coming over is maybe even something like The Sims, which EA kind of talked about that before and said, oh, well, there's a lot of engagement on other platforms. People want to play on other platforms. Well, maybe they've changed their mind on that. I mean, we've seen how well Animal Crossing New Horizons has done, just absolutely crushing it when it comes down to it. And other simulation games I think would do well that are like Animal Crossing or that are like The Sims could do well and find an audience on the Switch. So maybe EA finally decides to stop being stubborn on that franchise and bring it over to the Switch. Now, let's just hope it's not something like My Sims or something like that that they decide to bring over instead of the actual full thing. Now, my own personal opinion is, I'm kind of meh on The Sims. I don't really care about the franchise, but I do think that there is some opportunity there for it. Now, another game that I think is a little bit of a long shot because of what we talked about with the whole Frostbite engine thing, Madden. Madden is a game that should have just been on the Switch from day one. I mean, it makes complete sense to put something like Madden on the Nintendo Switch, especially with people with football in America, which is one of the most popular systems when it comes down to it, playing portable, tailgating, all of that stuff. It would have been a huge hit, and it's a way to market your game when people aren't at home and they're not necessarily like watching the TV or whatever it is. When people go outside saying, hey, what are you playing? Oh, I'm playing Madden anywhere that I want. That would have been amazing, especially for, like, let's say if you're going to like a live game back in 2017 or 2018 and you can bust out local games of Madden between the two teams that are playing, or heck, even if you're at home and you bust out some Madden between brother and sister or between brothers or between friends and you're playing there before the game even gets going. That is such a big part of American culture. Heck, I even used to do that back in the day. Me and my brother would play as the two teams heading into it. So it's just something that was just a missed opportunity for EA, and the fact that they didn't have that ready to go or they didn't care enough was just ridiculous. But obviously the whole Wii U situation, that's the reason why they had problems. If you don't know what happened with EA and Wii U and all that stuff, look it up. You can Google it. You know, there's information out there in terms of the fallout between the two. But those are kind of my thoughts on what games could be coming over. I went over 4 different games there or so. What are you guys' thoughts on what games could be coming? I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. But what we're going to do is we're going to move gears just a little bit over to this recent report, I think from Jeff Grubb, or I forgot exactly where it's from. I'll have links for you guys in the description. But I've seen many different YouTubers and people kind of put up the story about Nintendo not having any more Directs. Is it the end of Directs as we know it and all that? And I'm just going to have to say no. It's not the end of Directs. Is it the end of Directs for a certain amount of time? Probably, because there's the whole COVID situation, and kind of putting together logistics for these Directs is probably going to be very difficult for Nintendo. So I think until things kind of get back to somewhat normal, or Nintendo discovers a new type of way with logistics for doing these Directs, it's just going to be Twitter drops, YouTube, and stuff like that. Just like they did with Paper Mario the Origami King, just bam, out of nowhere, which I have no problem with that in the short time. You know, when it comes down to it, I think that Directs they can come back later. But to me, it's semantics. At the end of the day, the end result is the product, which is the game, and that's the most important thing. Yes, hype is cool, and I love hype just like anybody else, and it's great to have these big shows and presentations. I get that, but at the end of the day, we're here to play games, and the gaming is what matters at the end. How good are the games, the quality of the games, and when we get them. So I think that Nintendo could do that probably throughout the summer, and I think that by the end of that, maybe things kind of return a little bit to normal, or Nintendo kind of gathers things together in order to have a direct, because there's still a lot of stuff that people don't know about that's going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch this year. So no, I don't think there's going to be the end of directs for a very long time, or it's going to be no more directs in the future. I think they're going to come back later once things kind of just change a bit. But in the meantime, I think we could just see Twitter reveals, we could just see YouTube drops, we could just see small videos out of nowhere. So I'm fine with that. Still get to cover it, still get to play the games. Paper Mario is still coming out this July, whether we saw it in a direct or we see it in a Twitter reveal, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, Paper Mario, the game, is still coming in. It's going to be really good, and there's going to be more reveals just like that, or even in a different type of way. So we'll see what Nintendo has for us, but I think directs will be back by the end of the year. So what are you guys' thoughts on all these different topics that we discussed? I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a like and a follow on our social media. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.